we have one very small holding cell, and then there's a narrow corridor, and then my office. And on any Friday morning, which is typically our sentence date, we can have up to 6 or 7 detainees up there. And I think that you'll know as well as I do that the more people, the more traffic, the more chaos, the more opportunity for harm that exists. And what happens is when you've got so many detainees cramped in such a small space, it poses a danger not only to the public, but to the staff, to law enforcement, and to myself. In fact, a couple of years ago, we had a double murder and a double jury trial. And we had to find a semi-permanent place to hold 2 defendants that could have no contact. So they couldn't be held together in the holding cell. We had to find alternative place to secure the suspect defendant detainee while this trial had rolled out. And so what we had to do, because we didn't have appropriate facilities for him, is we had Buildings and Grounds make a cement block. Yeah, that's right, a cement block, and then put a door handle into the top of the block, and then we let the cement set around it. And of course we carpeted the block, some nice carpet, and then placed this block, probably weighed 75 pounds, in the clerk's office. And then we had to handcuff the defendant suspect to the block so that he couldn't escape or cause harm to anyone. So that's a problem. So I think what the circuit court needs is some other way to detain suspects and defendants that have business in circuit court, not in this small little cubicle of a cell that's not 5 feet away from my office. So that's problem number 1. Problem number 2 is getting detainees from the jail to the courts. And that's a problem because right now what happens is the sheriff does, and this is all the sheriff can do, is hook the detainees together and have a law enforcement member escort them outside of the jail, across the parking lot, into the courthouse, which in and of itself is a problem because, man, it's just, the problem hasn't happened yet, and I'm surprised that it hasn't. I mean, anybody with a schedule, anybody with a watch, anybody with a calendar could be told when a detainee is going to be transported, and there's a problem. There's a problem. As I said earlier, the means of transport, the only really feasible means of transport is securing a detainee and walking them across the parking lot. Now, the Sheriff's Department has a sally port. That's how detainees are taken from a vehicle to a secured facility inside, which is safe. Circuit Court ought to be given that same consideration. And other counties, if they don't have a tunnel that goes from the jail to the courthouse, then what they have is a sally port on both sides. And that's really the only way that it should be, a sally port on both sides, so that the detainee is escorted inside the Sheriff's Department to a vehicle. The vehicle then moves to an enclosed facility, a sally port, at the courthouse. Safe, secure, and safe for everybody. The Constitution guarantees right of privacy with a detainee, suspected defendant, and his or her lawyer. They're guaranteed it, and they're just not getting it. And just like you said, Sheriff, you know, they could talk to him through glass with a bailiff standing by and able to listen in, and which violates the Constitution. Unfortunately, up here on the 3rd floor at Circuit Court, safety is more important than some privacy, just because we have to protect the staff, we have to protect law enforcement, and we have to protect ourselves. So what has to happen is there has to be a means where the attorney can communicate with his or her client near the courtroom, so that just before they go in and do their business, they're prepared and they're ready to go. If they're forced to do all of their business prior to the court hearing across the street, then you got the same problem of bringing them over, getting them up, getting them lodged, getting them ready to go. It's just, it's not feasible, it's not economical, and it certainly it compromises judicial resources. And I am the circuit judge of Shiawassee County. I'm the only circuit judge, and the circuit court is the highest trial court in the state. And what a circuit court deals with is all felonies. And a felony is a crime that can be punished by more than a year in jail, and in some cases many years, and in others, life. Circuit court has jurisdictions over folks accused of murder, rape, drugs, manufacturing, distribution, crimes against children, the most serious crimes that anyone can face in our community has to go through circuit court. So the intensity of the possible consequences ought to be matched by the safety. It ought to be matched by the safety, and it's the right thing to do.